Hey everyone, Noah Walker here with my video series Accumulated Knowledge. Today we're going to be playing some more Grixis Delver against Storm. So before we walk into the matches, I just wanted to do another little quick look over the list that I'm going to be jamming. So we've got your 14 creatures, pretty standard. 4 Delvers, 4 Deathrite, 3 Young Pyromancer, 1 Click in the 4th Pyromancer slot, and the 2 Gurmags. Here we've got the 12 cantrips, 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder, 4 Jataxian Probe, all standard. Got your 4 Lightning Bolts as the removal spells, you can go face. Then the 8 pieces of counter magic, 4 Force of Will, and 4 Days. And then in the 4 flex slots, we've got 2 Cabal Therapies, 1 of Dismember, and 1 Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce has just an extra piece of counter magic that can just get him. The Dismember as, kind of like another Bolt effect, but can't hit face, but it kills more creatures than Bolt does, and it costs basically the same amount of mana. Gets underneath Chalice, which is helpful against matchups like Eldrazi. Then you've got the 2 Cabal Therapies. Therapy just synergizes really well with the Probes and the Young Pyromancers. It's a very powerful card. Got your mana base, 8 blue fetch lands. Doesn't really matter what the fetches are, just as long as they're, can fetch per blue. The 6 lands to fetch for 3 volcanic, 2 underground sea, 1 trop. The trop is there just so that you can use Deathrite Shaman against matchups like Reanimator, Dredge. Sometimes good against Burn when you need to gain life. But the Trop is basically just an island that's good with Deathrite Shaman and lets you flashback Ancient Grudge. And then one of the most important lands in the deck, 4 Wasteland. Wasteland just goes really well with the deck's game plan of being ahead on the board resources of your opponent. You have like a Deathrite Shaman in play, you Wasteland them, you can remove their land to get even further ahead. Wasteland's probably the most important card in the whole deck. Alright, so that is the main deck. Let's move over to the sideboard a little. We've got 2 Surgical Extractions. Surgical's mostly for all of the graveyard-based decks, like lands, Reanimator, stuff like that. But it's also really good against combo decks, just because you can pick apart one of the most important parts of their combo and get rid of all of them. Cabal Therapy, the 3rd one. Sometimes I play 2 more on the sideboard to bring up to 4. But combo is not a horrible matchup, and it's not as popular now as it has been in the past. So I just have 3 therapies in the 75, but it's really good. It's the best card against the combo decks, which is why you'll see a lot of lists running 4 in the 75 if they're playing the Young Pyromancer Probe version, because it's really, really powerful against all these combo decks. But it's not that it's not that flexible, It's good against combo, it's good against Eldrazi, but it's not that good in too many other matchups, so I only have the 1. For fair, we have 1 Dark Blast, 1 Forked Bolt, really good against the Mirror, really good against Elves, Death and Taxes, stuff like that. Painful Truths. It's the only card in the deck that gives you card advantage, aside from like Baleful Strix. It's the only card that you play it, you spend 1 card, and you get more than 1 card back for it, basically. So it's really helpful in the Miracles matchups. It's really helpful in the Mirror matches. Once you start, wanting to go late game, it just helps a lot. 1 Sulfuric Vortex for Miracles, other decks that play Stoneforge Mystic. So like sometimes I'd want to bring it in against something like Death and Taxes, but they play Wasteland and Rishadenport, so it's kind of hard to cast. So right now I'm just testing out the Sulfuric Vortex because I think it's really powerful against Miracles, also good against lands. But against lands, you have the same dilemma where they have, Wasteland, and they have Rishadenport. So it's hard to get to 3 mana sometimes against those matchups. But if you can resolve it, then it's probably just going to win you the game by itself. So I'm trying out one of these right now. You've got 1 of Ancient Grudge. Grudge is really good against Chalice of the Void decks. It's the best answer that we have to Chalice, because a Chalice on 1 just means that we basically can't cast anything in the deck. There's still some stuff we can cast, obviously. Gurmag Angler gets under it, Vendilion Click, the 3 Young Pyromancers. But for the most part, all the cards in the deck cost 1, so having an answer to Chalice is super important. Pyroblast is there for any control deck. By that I mean like Miracles. I guess any blue deck is a better way to put it. Good against the Mirror, good against combo for the most part. There's very few combo decks in Legacy that don't play blue, so Pyroblast is just something that hedges well at being good against the other Delver decks, and you can also bring it in against the combo decks, and it's also good against Miracles. So it's probably one of the most valuable cards in the sideboard, just because it has so many applications. Then we got the 2 Baleful Strix. Baleful Strix is really good against the Mirror. It's really good against Shardless Bug, Rug Delver, any Tarmogoyf deck, and it's also really good against Eldrazi. It's probably my favorite card in the sideboard, just because it feels so good to cast it. 2 mana card that trades for anything and replaces itself is about as good as a card as you could ask for in the matchups where you want to kill their creatures efficiently. So I really like the Baleful Strixes. And then we have a couple more artifacts. We've got 1 Engineered Explosives, 1 Winter Orb, and 1 Pithing Needle. The Pithing Needle is for lands. It's also for Miracles. It's really good against Miracles because you can name Sensi Divine Top, and then their deck does a whole lot less. The Winter Orb is there specifically for Miracles. I see a lot of people sometimes not playing the Winter Orb and playing 2 Pithing Needles just because Pithing Needle is much more flexible. But I think that Winter Orb is a powerful enough effect against Miracles where it merits a sideboard slot, even though Needle is much more flexible. Winter Orb is very, very good, and it's hard for Miracles to ever beat a resolved Winter Orb. Then we have the 1 of Engineered Explosives. EE is not really, it's not really a card that you see all that much in Legacy. There's a couple decks that play it in their sideboard, but it's just definitely a much more popular modern card. But the reason that I play it in Legacy is because it's one of the only answers, or is factually the only answer aside from Ancient Grudge or a Counterspell that can deal with Chalice of the Void really well. And it's really good against Endless One from the Eldrazi decks. It's really good against lands because you can hit their Mox Diamonds and you can hit their Molten Vortex and Exploration, stuff like that. So it's just a really flexible card. It's good against the Mirror, good against Elves, good against Death and Taxes. One of the most flexible cards in the sideboard. It's not always that high impact because it's a little bit expensive, but it's really good in the matchups where it's good. Of course. So yeah, that is my 75. Let's get on to some matches.